Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. We had a message, I had a message from someone, a subscriber, who is married to a Filipina, and they are interested in adopting a child. Now the difference here is that they already have the child, and without going into a lot of detail, they wanted to know if I could shed any light on that. Right, so as in many cases, a child in the Philippines can swap hands very easily, actually, and we'll go into why this would be the case in a moment. Whenever you see these programs, I've seen some videos where they say picking up I don't know, little Doris at the orphanage, and it will show a family usually fairly well off. They've got to be fairly well off to be coming, say, from America for this little girl, and little Doris will be waiting at the orphanage, and the orphanage will show some scenes which will not be wonderful. But they'll have a little girl beautifully dressed, and she'll be ready to go and have a new life, all of which is wonderful. I have to say, in the one video that I watched, the subject of the video was picking up this little girl by a loving family with, I think they had a young boy themselves, a son and a daughter, and they're picking up this little girl who's about 6 years old, and it's got, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 thumbs down. What is in the mind of someone who thumbs down a child getting a new home? Well, that would be a whole other mess, a can of worms to open, wouldn't it, which we're not doing right now. But anyway, so the usual videos won't, from what I saw, won't go into the actual initial hassles. So this couple that I'm talking about got in touch with me and asked me what I could do to find out, and I promised that I would, and this has been the first time that we've been able to do it. And so when we went into the DSWD, we found out a lot of information. First of all, we found out that trying to adopt a child is about as easy as trying to drive the Queen Mary through a sea of Hershey bars, an ocean of chocolate. It ain't easy. And as per my earlier comment, I believe that this is why things get done illegally. Now, in the Philippines, because communities and little families and extended families are so close, what can happen is you might say to, I don't know, you might say to Aunt Doris or Aunt Merle, or you might say to anybody, we're really interested in adopting. And then it will come out, well, there's a girl over in the other barangay, and she's pregnant, and the parents are unable to really be of any help, and she doesn't have a job, and she's only 17 or something, and she will be having this lovely baby which is in a kind of a no man's land. And what happens is that another couple who are eager to have that child but not able to bear it themselves will go in and they will offer the child a home. And that young girl, probably not completely happily, will at birth hand over that child. And then that child will be registered in the name of the couple. So they won't, the woman, it's in the Philippines, the woman won't have to go in and prove anything. It's not like she'll have to show her stretch marks in order to show that she's just had a child. she could put a blanket up inside her jacket and say that she's doing pretty well post the birth. But that would be quite easy to do, and we've had an instance in our own area where somebody was put in prison, a drug dealer or something, that they were put in prison, and there's this child that doesn't have anybody, and so a couple stepped in, took the child, and it was registered in their name. The birth certificate is a legal birth certificate. It's only the act which precedes that. In other words, the people who are going to be the parents are not actually the biological parents, but they bypassed all of the procedure. And now, in that particular case, that child has a loving family, and it will only be in later years when they have that conversation where the parents say, well, most children come without being loved particularly. It just happens, but we chose to have you. Completely valid as far as I'm concerned, and a loving way to show a child that even though the biological parents were not able to take care of him or her, the parents that she has always known certainly loved him or her more than enough to give him a home. So when we were in the DSWD, I said to the lady, I have two questions. Lots of misunderstandings because of the English language or lack of it, and certainly the lack of Visayan on my part. But we finally got sorted out. So here's what she told me. Obviously, the couple who have taken that child, oh, I didn't give you that background. The couple that I'm talking about that asked the question said, this child came to us, we took the child in and we've cared for it ever since on a kind of a foster basis, but we love the child now. It's like our child. And so we want to legally, with the agreement of the mother, of the biological mother, we want to adopt. And we're wondering how we should go about that. So, the DSWD lady, Betty said, well, that's what they've done is not legal. And what has to happen when you decide that you want to adopt is this. There are forums that you have to attend. It's a half-day forum. The Philippines like to put these on. If you've got married in the last few years anyway, 4 for us, you'll know that they have a forum for getting married. I think they also have a forum for if a Filipina is marrying a foreigner, that there will be certain challenges that she might want the heads up on. So you have to attend a forum. Now here's where we enter the sea of chocolate. These forums are like about 1 every 3 months. So imagine that you have the desire to adopt a child, and you've got to wait 3 months before you can even attend the compulsory forum, class, whatever you want to call it. At these forums, which I imagine must take some organisation, at these forums they have attorneys there who will answer all of the legal questions that you may have or need to know, want to know about adoption. So you will do what I always advise. You will have gone to the source and got the information up to date firsthand from the horse's mouth. So to our friends out there, this is what you will have to do. Find out about that forum. I don't suppose anybody is going to complain that you took a child in that would have had no chance and have been fostering it. But here's the deal, is that you are supposed to go through a procedure even for fostering. So that's the other thing. So, but I asked, so are my friends in a difficult position? which was difficult to get an answer on that. They just kept repeating, well, it's not legal, they'll have to go to a forum. So there's your answer, you have to go to a forum. So go to the DSWD and tell them that you are interested in adopting a child. Say nothing. I guess you would say nothing. There's no need to say anything. And anyway, they're not going to rush out and put you in prison for being a loving parent, are they, to an orphan child? Tell them you need to know when the next forum is. Then you have to sign up for that and attend it, ask your questions then, and I don't know, follow the process. But it is so slow. And Beth said, you know, just a grapevine on adoption, how people say, well, if you go through all of the channels, you will wait and wait and wait. And that little child that you may have seen and loved will wait and wait and wait too. So the video that I watched of the happy family gave no indication, as far as I saw, of how long the process had been, but they'd done it from afar, from America, and they had given that child a home. The child looked very, very happy, looked very tearful when she was hugging and kissing those people that had been her foster parents, and you know, not a dry eye in the house. So they went off and they took their little girl to a new life. Wonderful. So meantime, to that couple, you and us, we have to do the waiting game. That's the way that it is. I know that I'm offering this as just a piece of information rather than a piece of advice. I know that there are people who have just had a retro birth certificate made out in their name, and it's possible to do that. I know that due to circumstances, there's one little 5-year-old boy who that we know doesn't have a birth certificate because of some hassle with the parent, single parent again. So that's going to have to be addressed as well very soon for that child. But it's not a huge problem. So there he is, 5 years old and no birth certificate. Who's going to make trouble on that? Well, there is no trouble until he has to go to school. And then he needs a birth certificate, and it will have to be paid for, which you will know if you've seen the recent videos where we've helped people with money from our Patreon account. Thank you, our supporters, on that. And we've helped them with money from our Patreon account so that they can go and do the paperwork, which costs money. It's not free, not anymore. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thank you for your attention. If you're still there, bye for now.